Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a legend in the house. This man is a complete OG, a raw food pioneer. He has done so many things. The man needs no introduction beyond that. Everybody knows who he is. Let's say hello to David Wolfe. David, Avocado Wolfe, how's it going?
It's going the best ever. I'm just up here in the far north, near you actually, probably,
Yeah.
and about 4 or 5 hours north of Toronto,
Okay.
up here
Awesome.
in the wilderness. And what a spectacular light show the other day with the ions and the aurora and everything. That was incredible. Whoa.
Yeah, Woe is right. Amazing. And you look amazing. Speaking of amazing, you're looking really good.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm just getting, I do a cleanse 4 times a year, so I'm just getting geared into it right now. Like yesterday was probably the strongest day of the cleanse so far, and I'll go probably 50 days into this,
Oh,
and it'll
wow.
end with a 2-week water fast. It's gonna be full on.
Yeah.
I'll
So
look
what
better
does
after.
that entail for you? What type of cleanse are you doing right now?
Okay, so right now we're doing heavy metal cleansing,
Okay.
liver cleansing,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're leading into a liver cleanse. I should get a drink of water.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just grab this right
Yeah,
here.
sure. No problem.
This is my morning super elixir.
Yeah, we got so much to talk about today. Superfoods, so
Yeah,
many
you know what?
different things.
I'm gonna just fill this thing up. Hold on one second.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This has my noni land chocolate in it, and teas from all the forest herbs here. So we grow sea buckthorn. That's the only thing that's not really wild from the forest. Everything else is wild herbs from the forest and wild mushrooms from the forest. And then so I blend the tea in with the chocolate basically, and so it's like a hot chocolate.
I love it. You take all this to the whole other level. We have to talk about cacao today, so many different things. But first, I want to start for anybody who doesn't know, and I've never really heard it. And it's just a way we can all connect with you, especially new people. Like, what's your story? What first led you into health? Like, I heard that I think it was around 18, you became really sensitive to dairy, and that like started your journey. But I don't know if that's true. So take us through, like, how did you start eating before your raw journey started, and like, what led you into it, and what happened?
Okay, great. Well, I guess I got to start at the beginning. And so I'm originally born in New York, New Jersey area. I'm actually, the show, the Jersey Shore TV show.
Oh yeah.
I'm from that town. I was actually there first. My parents were the doctors in that town. So I grew up as the son of two medical doctors with a little office there in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. And then when I was about in the mid 70s, we started travel. Well, we traveled all the time, as I was growing up, but we started coming to California. And my uncle got a place in California in 1977, 78. And that's when I first planted an avocado tree, was 1978 on his farm in Southern California. And then that led to a lifelong love for farming and
Hmm.
planting trees. I'm still an avocado farmer today. So I've been farming avocado since 1978. That's my name, avocado. That's where it comes from.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then
So it's a
yeah.
love. And then
Cool.
that
Yeah.
that got me growing up. Then we moved to Southern California in 1980. So I grew up in that Southern California kind of surf culture. I grew up as a Southern California surfer and kind
Mhm.
of that culture. And then along comes the download one night in my mom's house after had finished up at university at UC Santa Barbara, came back to San Diego in basically 1993, I think. And then I had a vision one night, and it was like, you need to do this. And I was like, that sounds perfect. It was like an alignment. I'm a public speaker. I've always been a public
Mhm.
speaker my whole life. I was the kid who got picked by the football team. Like, you go do the talk for the coach or whatever. And so that was just always my natural skill. And so when I could align that with what my real hobby was, which is health, then suddenly I went, oh, this is it. So I was in law school at that time. I was just getting into law school, and I was thinking about going into patent law. And I thought, I'll just go through this process, but I'm not actually going to do any of this. And I built a company up while I was in law school, which was my first company, distributing raw food books. That was the main. This is at the beginning of the internet.
Wow, I love it. Wow, at the very
Mhm.
beginning. And now that you
All
say that, I
N-word
could
word
actually
books.
see you as a really good lawyer, but this is a better path for you. This is
Better
better.
path for
Yeah.
sure. Thank God I did this instead of that. And
Yeah.
so then we started with the books, and then one day I was doing a talk, and this guy was like, "Okay, so yeah, where's the spirulina?" And I was like, "What do you mean the spirulina?" He's like, "Well, you're talking about spirulina. Don't you have any spirulina here?" And I was like, "No," but that was the first time I got an idea of like, "Whoa, maybe I should sell food."
Yeah.
Right? It made sense. And so that's what began the process. I think we started selling spirulina, olives, and then gradually got into all the superfoods. And then that's what I'm still doing today, 30 years later.
That's amazing. And I'll link everything down below for you if everybody go check it out. And when you yourself started eating all raw, did you notice differences? Like, did you notice differences in yourself physically, spiritually? And what did your parents think of all this as medical doctors of just this only raw food path?
Great question. I mean, of course, you go through a massive metamorphosis. You go through a metamorphosis. Imagine going from really not even being organic. I had one girlfriend in college who was organic, and so we'd eat organic together, but I never wasn't organic really. So I went organic. I went raw. All of and I'm in San Diego, so it was like unbelievable cherimoyas, avocados,
Mhm.
crazy amounts of fruit, figs, best ever. So I went through a metamorphosis. I lost probably 50 pounds. Um,
Wow.
just went through a complete physical up level. And then
Mhm.
that's what I did. I was basically a Southern California raw foodist for years and years and years, 17 and a half years, 100% raw, and just traveling all over the world. And it was just fantastic. I mean, I'm still, my main path, actually, my spiritual path is I'm in a scene, and I became aware that I'm in a scene. And the scene is not something that you like go, oh, I'm going to go proselytize about this, or, it's just something you recognize you are.
Mhm.
That's it. That's it. There's no like
Mhm.
proselytizing. There's no talking about it. So I recognized I was in a scene, and so that has been my path. Now the Essenes, I'm 54, so I have to do 54 days of water fasting this year.
No way, that's how it works? No
That's how it works.
way. And have
So,
you ever done that length of water fasting before? That's so long. Wow.
well, last year I did 58 days. In my 53rd year, I did 58 days on water, which was the best I'd ever done in that department. So I'm a little behind. I've done about 15 days so far this year on water. And so I got to catch up. So this next one, I'm hoping I might even go 3 weeks on water on this next one. And so that's just my path. That's my spiritual path. And that's the way I
Yeah.
do it.
And how's that experience for you? Like, how is the water fasting? Like, I know you're more educated. I think for the average person, if they want to do a water fast like that, like they should go somewhere and get supervision, right? And like do all that. I'm guessing for you, you might do it on your own just because I don't know, but let
Yeah.
me
Oh,
know.
well,
And
I'm an
how
expert
is
at
it?
this point.
Yeah. How
I'm an
is that
expert. I've
experience?
been
Like,
doing this.
what do you gain from that? And is it difficult to do that for that long?
Yes, I mean, it's not easy. Water fasting is the most challenging thing in the world, especially doing your normal life.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine like everything stays the same except you're not eating, so
Mm-hmm.
you're just drinking water the whole time. And so I'll do all the traveling, everything, all the physical activities, everything that's normal, but I'm not eating. And so I've had to train myself to do that. And it's very hard. I will say that because, after you get off the water fast, you get back to eating food, you're like, my God, how did I do that? And then now
Yeah.
that phase of like, okay, I got to gear myself up for the next one. And then I'll get into the next one. All of a sudden I'll be 10 days into the water and be like, wow, this is so epic. I mean, you get all your powers back.
Mm-hmm.
You get all your powers back. That's what happens. I mean, if you water fast long enough, you'll get all your powers back. You have to be healthy, of course. You have to be in a state where your body has reserves and healthy reserves. I mean, most people, this is the real situation. What's happening is that most people their fat is filled with black soot from all the pollution
Mm-hmm.
and the food debris and just the metabolic toxins and everything. They've never done a long enough cleanse to get that fat off and burn that fat off and get that soot off out of their tissue. Of course, that soot also gets into your skin, your muscle tissue, your organs, etc. And it's interesting because I've talked to doctors who look at people's fat every day. And when I had my fat extracted for a stem cell procedure, which that they actually hit my kidney, which was not good. But anyway, um, I had 20 people. I checked with 20 people. I was like, "Are you sure this is safe?" They're like, "Oh, we've done it. It's really good, great, whatever." And they did it. And they nicked my kidney, and that caused me a lot of problems. But anyway, they pulled my fat out, and they're like, "You're fat. This is like we don't ever see this, never,
No
because it's
way.
bright, juicy, and pink, whereas everybody else's fat is black and dark." And
Crazy. From like all the animal products and all the standard American diet stuff and all the
yep.
crap, right?
And the
Wow,
pollution we're
unbelievable.
breathing in. And so so this is important. When you burn that off, you're going to go through a hellacious time. It's rough because you're basically, your body has to churn up all those toxins. You got to deal with it. You got to get it out of your system. And that's why people have a tough time with detox and fasting. Tougher now than ever before because we're more toxic now than ever before.
Mhm.
For me, as soon as I get into that stage, there's no problem at all. I just gradually go bam, bam, bam. I just have to be disciplined. But once I'm disciplined, I get my calories down. Then so I spend really 2 weeks getting my calories down, getting onto a liquid diet, raw food diet, of course. And then I get down to the 2 week point, day 15, and then I'm on the water. And then I do the water and I'll keep going. And this time I don't have anything really intense in front of me. So I hope I get 20 days in. I need to because I got to get caught up with. I don't want to be behind at the end of the year. That's happened to me before too, where I was behind on my fasting and then had to fast most of the month of December to
It's
catch.
good you're so disciplined, you know? It's good to have that level of discipline. I feel like that gives us confidence too when we can stick to something like that. And I feel like it must just be the most insanely spiritual experience ever too. Water fasting to that level.
I mean, I understand the problems of our civilization and the complete separation anxiety from the sacred,
Hmm.
the separation anxiety from nature, the separation anxiety from the creator in a lot of cases. So all of that is completely restored if you really work at it, and detox and cleansing, especially fasting, helps to restore that. So I'm long past that stage, in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not living in some kind of like spiritual anxiety or anything like that. I know what my
Mm.
purpose is. I know, where I'm going. I know, I'm going full on every single day, nonstop until I drop. And I'll do that the rest of my life until I drop. That's, or until I fake my death, whichever comes first.
Yeah. And what kind of water do you drink? Because people might ask that. And I know you're big into like the spring waters, right? Like
Yes.
going to the actual springs. How can we find these springs that I see you at? How do we know where these places are?
Okay, so my friends run a great website called findaspring.org.
Okay.
Findaspring.org. And that has that like I think there's like 40 different springs in the GTA.
Whoa.
Yeah, great ones, really good ones. There's a really good one in Caledon. There's really good ones out, near Collingwood. There's really good ones just in the GTA and the Niagara area.
Yeah, and for
There's
anyone who doesn't know, the GTA is located where I am near Toronto. It's not Grand Theft Auto, it's the Greater Toronto area. Because people hear that, they're like, "What?" And so that's near me. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there's plenty around. And so I'm a spring water guy. I've been that for 30 years. Years ago I did a water fast and read Victor Schauberger's books and suddenly went, whoa, it became a hobby. And this hobby has really dramatically had an effect on a lot of people. In fact, I was with some friends in Toronto recently. They run Float Toronto. I don't know if you know the Float Toronto place
No.
down there.
Yeah.
Cool spot to go and float. You float in salt water and you go, out of your body for an hour. Really fun. Great to do
Yeah.
water fast. But anyway, their child has only drank spring water his entire life.
No way. Whoa, that's
Never had tap water.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Isn't that
amazing.
cool?
Yeah, it's a whole other level. And what led you into Ontario? Because like you're from the US, like Ontario's okay. Like I'm from here. Like no offense. It is my home. It's great, but there's a lot of places in the US. Why would you pick Ontario to come? No offense
Well,
to my
I've traveled
homeland.
all over the world and I've been a world traveler my whole life. My mom's from Tehran, was born in
Yeah.
Tehran, and she came to the US when she was 16. So we used to go all the way. We used to fly from New York, from like JFK Airport to Geneva to Tehran until the Shah
Cool.
got overthrown. And when the Shah got overthrown, we had to flee the country because we're Baha'is. So we were the wrong religion. You can't be that. So we had to get out of there. And so that's how much of a world traveler I am. So when I'm in an airplane, I feel extremely comfortable because I grew up in airplanes.
Mhm.
So, to me, I'm totally in communion with the spirits of the upper atmosphere, and I'm actually as home as you could be at 40,000 feet altitude over an ocean.
I love that, and you've lived a pretty worldly life, and for some reason, this makes me think of Jim Rohn, because he is just my favorite motivational speaker of all time, and I think I've heard you say he was your mentor. Like, did you actually know Jim Rohn?
Yes, I knew Jim
Oh,
Rohn. Yes,
see,
exactly.
that's wow, he's one of the most incredible people, in my opinion, that have ever lived. So maybe what are some of the greatest things you've learned from Jim Rohn?
For every disciplined effort, there's a multiple reward. There's a great one from Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn told me, and would say it in his philosophy too, but he told me directly, he's like, you need to develop a personal philosophy for your life. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. So I really investigated philosophy a good part of my life, and I developed a personal philosophy for my life, which is the core of it is the best day ever. Today is the best day ever. That's a Jim
Mhm.
Rohn, even though he didn't say that directly, I got that concept of like having my own personal philosophy, which today is the best day ever, is that philosophy, from Jim Rohn. And I had somewhere in I know it's the last time I saw it was in a storage unit an old like board where you put old pictures and stuff of
Yeah.
me and Jim Rohn together. I still have that picture somewhere. I got to dig it up.
You gotta dig that up. Wow, you are such an interesting guy, David. You've known so many people, done so many things. I love it. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know Jim Rohn, look him up. I will try to link below one of his lectures on YouTube. I think it's like 2 to 3 hours long. It's one of my favorite talks of all time. And I feel like with him, everything he says is just such an aha moment. There's so much substance to like everything he says, like no fluff, and he will change your life. He changed my life. And okay, there's so much to talk about. We have to talk about cacao. Like you're the cacao man. I think you're one of the people on the scene. Like I know I watched you when I first started going raw 8 years ago, and you're one of the people on the scene who like introduced us to so many things like superfoods like goji berries and cacao. So I love cacao. I wish I could consume it every day. I want to ask you too why some of us like me, I have like side effects with it. It's like acts more of a stimulant. So how can I introduce it? Like any tips where I can get around that? Because it's something I do want to start having more. And I've had your sacred chocolate. It's amazing. It is, I think, the best chocolate I've ever had. It's so good.
I'm just looking over here. Let me grab this. This is
Yeah.
there's a cacao operation in Toronto. I was looking at it this morning. I was trying to find the exact. It's called let me see what it's the name of it. It's
Mm.
try chocosoultraders.com.
Okay.
See, the quality of the chocolate you're getting is a big problem.
Okay.
Moldy. So, this is
Yeah.
get side effects and that kind of a thing. What I
Okay.
had in here was basically some macambo that I got from these guys in Toronto and my cacao beans. So there's no mold or anything like that. It's made by my farm. But these guys over there, they're on St. Clair. They're 1131 St. Clair West in Toronto. Go check them
Okay.
out. And they've got an amazing macambo hot chocolate that's just whoa, out of this world. So I'll
Wow.
take that.
And
The
why in
quality
your
matters.
the quality matters. And why in your opinion is cacao so amazing and how can it benefit us?
Well, cacao is in the top 7 foods in the world in terms of mineral density, and so
Wow.
it's roughly about 10 times more concentrated than an almond, for example, in color pigments, in
Mhm.
minerals, etcetera.
Mhm.
So that's why it was so highly regarded because, we have kind of a fantasy that like, "Oh, we're gonna go live in the jungle and everything's gonna be easy," but you get into real wild jungle, like Amazon wild jungle, that were places in Costa Rica where not people living in it because it's so ferocious.
Mhm.
It's hard to survive in the jungle. I mean, it's full on, like, just, how you gonna protect yourself from mosquitoes and the other insects, and it just goes on and on and on. So, when ancient peoples found cacao, one cacao pod, say, has 50 cacao beans in it, or that's
Mm.
a crazy amount of food.
Yeah, true.
That's an incredible concentrate of food. So with cacao, you can survive because all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can always fall back on this because of the
True.
density of that nutrition. So I
Mm.
think that's why it was so highly regarded early on by ancient peoples. They used it as money, for example. It would cost you roughly about one cacao bean for a tomato, for example, or
Mhm.
two cacao beans or three cacao beans for an avocado back in ancient Mexico.
Mhm.
It was their currency. And then, cacao is one of those things that it was when I first found out about it, I was in Maui and I was going to Maui regularly. And this is how I got involved in farming in Hawaii. And I was staying with some friends of mine. We'd go to yoga class in the morning, and then every day after yoga class, we do, okay, let's put spirulina in here. We'll throw all the stuff in these
Yeah.
smooth. And we were peeling cacao beans. I didn't know what it was. And I was like, what is this? So like, oh yeah, it's like cacao. You just peel it and throw it in the smoothie. Then one day my friend said to me, my friend Eli said, have you ever just peeled one and eaten it? And I was like, no. So I peeled the next one and I ate it. And, I'd been a raw foodist for years. I hadn't had chocolate. I didn't even know what chocolate was. I had no idea that this was what chocolate was made out of. No idea at
Yeah.
all. And when I bit into it, I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
And that's how it started.
And that's where it all started. The rest is history.
Mhm.
Wow, amazing. I love it. And do you consume it every day?
Unless I'm fasting or
Yeah.
unless I'm on the road or something like that, I probably have to lay off of it at some point, but that usually happens because I fast really long periods 4 or 5 times a year. So that's when I get off everything. And what a
And
great feeling.
when you get off of it, like for me, if I have it for a couple days, maybe it's because the quality, like you said, though, or something with my gut. I don't know. When you get off of it, do you have any side effects? Like say you have it for a long time, then you go off of it to water fast, do you get headaches or anything, or you're good?
No, no, I'm not a caffeine kind of like reactionary person. I don't have
Good.
problems with, like I'm not a coffee drinker or anything like that, but
Yeah.
chocolate doesn't give me that kind of
Good.
withdrawal.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it, it's usually more like, if it's bitter in the original way, no
mhm.
problems. But people run into problems when they start sweetening it up. That's where
True.
trouble arises.
True. Okay, that makes total sense. Okay, and with raw food, if someone like I'm a raw foodist, it's changed my life like nothing else. But if someone asks you, like, David, why raw food? Like, why should someone eat raw food over cooked food? What do you say to that? Or why should someone go raw, eat a raw food diet?
Well, it's part of the creator's original intent. That's it. It's the original intent. It's like there's nothing, there's no like creatures out there that like, hey, these wolves are like cooking their food, or these chimpanzees are cooking their
Yeah,
food, or
exactly.
anything like that. So it's part of the creator's original intent. And it's a yogic path. The human being is
Mhm.
very amazing. So if you're oriented towards yoga, if you're oriented towards longevity, if you're oriented towards spirituality, if you're oriented towards cleaning your body out and detox in a toxic world, this is a great path for you. And then you find, the right balance of raw food for you. I really love the idea of raw food because it's uncontaminated by little human hands. I mean, the more human hands get on that food, the more trouble. Now,
True.
all the way to the point of genetically modified ingredients, which is totally insane.
True.
Absolute pure insanity.
So do you stay away from all GMO stuff? Like you never have corn, you never have anything that's genetically modified?
Right. I don't
Yeah.
consume genetically
Yeah.
modified ever.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That makes sense. And that's a good answer. And my viewers have so many amazing questions. So I'm going to hop into
Okay.
these because they have a
Let's
lot
get
and they're
into it.
all stuff everyone is going to want to know. So someone said, is he still raw? And if not, why not? So I don't know if you're fully raw, but maybe take us through to what you eat in a day, if you don't mind.
Okay, cool. So, let me just take you where I'm at right now. So
Mhm.
I was raw for 17 and a half years, fully
Mhm.
100% raw. And
Wow.
then I was traveling in Peru, and they had these big, like, I'm in an area where the only thing that really grows there is these big pampas grass is what they're called. And
Hmm.
it's an area you couldn't survive, as a human being unless you had like, good provisions. But if you were living there, like, how do you turn that environment into something you could live off of? Now, ancient humans have done this for years. So that what they do is they have a goat go out there and eat all that pampas grass and stuff that's not edible for a human, or they have bees go and collect honey for them or pollen for them. And then you just glean off of what the bees have, or glean off of what the goat is producing in its milk or cheese or that kind of thing. So there's these big fluffy cheese there that I was like, it was raw, and I was like, I want to eat that. I'd been a vegan for years. Now I've been a vegetarian
Yeah.
at this point today, 34 years.
Wow. That's a long
Yeah,
time.
long time.
Hmm.
So, underneath everything, I'm a vegetarian. I'm not
Hmm.
involved in killing for eating. That's just
Yeah.
not my path. And that has to be your own spiritual path. It's not something that somebody just tells you is the right way or this, that has to be, you have to be committed to that internally. And I am and
Hmm.
have been all these years. So that's part of my spiritual path. And that's just between me and God. That's it. There's no
Yeah.
need to, you know, nothing in between that. So that's where, and then I really wanted to eat sweet potato soup, and I really
Hmm.
wanted to eat quinoa.
Hmm.
And so that's how I started getting back into eating cooked food. It was those three things. And it was just really a revelation of like, the human being can survive on many, almost infinite amount of diets.
Hmm.
But
True.
which diet is going to take you the furthest or teach you the most? And raw foods definitely will teach
Mhm.
you the most for sure about diet. There's nothing could teach you better because you strip everything away.
So
And so
true.
you start going, oh, okay, now I'm understanding at a more visceral level what's going on with the human being
I
and
love that. So true.
diet.
Well said. And what do you think is the ideal raw food diet? Because there's so many different ways for people to eat. Some people are fruitarian, some people just eat a huge wide variety. Some people just have all these high fat, low fat. Is there anything that you found made you thrive the most or anything that you think is like more ideal than the other way or no?
Well, I'm a nutritionist, so I have learned over the years some very important things about diet. One is that the ratio of fat to carbohydrates to protein, or fat, protein, and carbohydrates, that ratio, not the amount, but the ratio is very critical in understanding what makes you thrive. So, for example, I found out through my years of raw fooding that it has to be high fat, moderate carb, low protein.
Wow,
That's what
interesting.
works. That's what works for me.
Hmm.
That someone next to me could be high protein, low fat, moderate carb.
True.
Person next to them could be high protein, low carb, low fat.
Good point. I like how you're not like that. Like, I like how you're like that and you're not like, no, everyone is like this way or something. And why do you think like some people thrive on the carnivore? Like some people come on the channel and be like, well, the carnivore healed me, the carnivore made me thrive. Do you think people can thrive on that long term? Like, I don't see too many people like thriving on that long term on YouTube, but what do you think?
Well, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, true.
Find
Good
out.
point. Now that we have YouTube, yeah, we are
I've
gonna
been
find
around
out.
the block a few times. I mean, I've been a professional in the health field for 30 years.
Mhm.
So I've seen the trends come and go. I've seen the people like, no salad, oxalates, no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't have salad, you're not going to have fiber. You don't have fiber, you're not going to move those toxins through your body. You're
Right?
not going to be pooping properly. And so that's going to cause a problem at some point.
Yeah.
Basically, most diets are trying to avoid eating vegetables. That's basically what the main issue is with humanity, right? Because humanity's like, I don't eat vegetables. I'll eat something like sweet or cheese or, something fatty or something protein or, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like people will just kind of run around the vegetable. So when you look at almost any diet that's being promoted, people will be like, oh, it's this, like fruitarian. You got to have vegetables. This carnivore, you got to have vegetables. This
True.
keto, you got to have vegetables. And it just goes on like that. So eventually people come back to sanity and they start realizing, oh, I
Mhm.
actually need carbs. I actually need fruit to be happy. I actually need
Mhm.
vegetables for fiber. That's
Yeah,
stuff
because
that's
even
obvious. That's obvious stuff.
with animal products, like, you get no fiber, right? If you're having,
Mhm.
like, chicken, like, there's 0 fiber in that, right? And
Zero
fiber
fiber
is
in eggs, zero
so
fiber in
critical for our
cheese.
gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
zero fiber in meat, zero fiber in any of that stuff.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Fiber is so important for our gut. Okay, and another question, somebody was asking any issues with dental health. Have you had that as somebody in like major in raw foods and the vegan foods, all these foods over the years? Have you had any dental health issues? Any recommendations for people to keep their dental health on par?
Great, great. Thanks for asking that question. I mean, I'm of course a big fan of vitamin K2. I'm a big fan of horsetail tea, for example. Horsetail's a kind of a bristly plant. You can't really eat it, but it makes a great tea, and I'm drinking it right now. It's in this right here.
Mhm.
It's one of the great wild herbs of North America, and actually have all over. It grows all over the temperate regions of the world. And what a phenomenal thing, because it's a high natural source of silica, which is important for dental health. One of the most important things. You think, no, I'm supposed to have calcium. It's like, no, silica is more important than calcium for dental health. And the reason is because we're not like a machine. It's not like you eat calcium to get calcium. That
Mm.
has been debunked hundreds of years ago and has been continuously debunked. But eventually you realize that the system that we're in is like the scientism is just bullied in. It doesn't mean it's truthful, it's just bullied into position. So things that are not explained are just sidelined. Well, we're not even looking at it.
Mhm.
We're getting rid of it because it violates our little theory of reality over here. So
Mhm.
that's called a biological transmutation. So for example, chickens that don't get enough potassium and silica can't form a shell for an egg.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Okay, I gotta
So
get
it's like,
into this.
how's this? That was Louis Kervran who pioneered that research and really drove it. He that was how he started. He was like, how come the chicken can't form an egg? If they don't have silica and potassium. I thought the
Mhm.
egg's made out of calcium. That kind of inquiry. At any rate, we could go into like the dental health issues are very important because number one is the dental trauma we've all been through our standardized dental care.
Mhm.
So eventually, for me, all my dental problems 100% were caused by dentists.
Mhm. Me too. I've had a lot caused by dentists. Yeah, me too.
So all those teeth, unfortunately, I lost two teeth as a result of that. They were just fillings that went bad.
Mhm.
Tooth was cracked, couldn't be fixed properly. Now I have the right dentist who actually is on the same page as all of us,
Good.
and Dr. Valerie Cantor out of Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And she saved. I thought I was going to lose another tooth, and she saved at the last second. She's like, another 2 weeks, it would have been gone. I
Wow.
struggled for a year trying to hold on to that tooth and try to keep the pain down. And she's like, I can fix it, but it's going to be, it's going to be close. And so I went in there and I was at a pain level of a 9 or 10. The next day I was at a pain level of 0, and it never came
Amazing.
back. That was the end of that.
Thank God. Thank
It was
God, and
sick.
who knows if you were with the wrong dentist, you could have lost it, right? So thank God.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's one, is just knowing that most of our dental problems are caused by dentists. So that's,
Mhm.
you have to get the right dental care. Two is flossing and brushing. And then also when I fast, I'll just, what I do, deep into a fast, say 10 days, 11 days, 12 days, 13 days, people are like, what's coming off your breath? I've found that if I take enzymes, it breaks that down
Mm.
so I don't get bad bacteria migrating up.
Okay.
That's an issue. So I like to sometimes just allow the bacteria to migrate up so I get that microbiome filling my mouth and not disturb my mouth with toothpaste, brushing, this or that.
Mhm.
See, I'm not putting anything in anyway. I'm not eating. So I just leave
True.
it alone.
That makes sense.
very sensible. And that has been a godsend. I mean, that does amazing and miraculous things to your teeth. If you just actually does it to your whole body. If you
Mhm.
just don't do anything, leave it alone. Don't react. This is what I
Mhm.
tell people with the fasting. It's like people are like, I got to do this. I got to do that. Then this, with that. And it's like, you're in some kind of a program that's created by your civilization. You got to get deprogram out of that. You don't have to do anything. Just lay there. Do
Mhm.
nothing. Meditate.
Yeah. No, you're right though. Yeah, well
Right. And
said.
that's
Good
a key
point.
part for healing. So today, just to answer this question, today I'm about like, I will do like this right here will be, this is basically a tea. And I can tell you what's in that tea. It's chaga, all wild, reishi, wild local, Fomes fomitarius, which is a mushroom wild local, termites, which is a mushroom wild local, sea buckthorn, which is from the front of the house. These are plants or bushes that I grow. What else is in there? Horsetail is in there. And what else did I throw in there? There's a little bit of jujubes in there.
Mm.
Got some jujubes. Jujubes is the
Yeah.
Chinese date, and that's a fun one. So I just had the stash of it. It makes a nice addition to a tea. It kind of softens the edges off. There's some of my vanilla in there
Mm.
from Hawaii that's in this one. And what else is in there? Let's just say that's it. So then I'll take that and I'll blend that with cacao, coconut butter, which is not coconut oil, but coconut butter. It's a creamed coconut,
Mhm.
which is different. That's kind of fills the volume up. So you have something that's got some substance, that
Yeah.
gives kind of this is like food here. And
Mhm.
then I'll throw in a bunch of superfoods on top of that. Pine pollen I threw in there today. I threw in there reishi mushroom spores. I threw in there Hishu Wu. I threw in there what else? A little bit of extra chaga concentrate in there that's made by some friends of mine in Russia,
Mhm.
on and on and on. And then
Wow.
that will create this. Now this will be my meal for, until probably 5 or 6, and then I'll have a salad and avocado and seaweed, or a salad and, something, whatever. I'm kind of I'm trying to run all the food out of this house so that when I get to the water fast, there's no food in this house. So
Makes
it's kind of
sense.
whatever we got, carrots,
Yeah.
whatever, I'll get rid of it.
And you're getting a lot of nutrients. And do you think superfoods and herbs are important to us or we can still thrive eating like more basic?
Oh, no, I mean, eventually so the raw food gets you back to the basics, but eventually you realize that, this is through the fasting, years of fasting, years of being a nutritionist. You don't really need food. You really need herbs.
Mm,
And
wow.
and that's really where because eventually you realize, like, I don't need to be eating all this food. So you eventually, you get down to 1 meal a day. So I was on
Mhm.
2 meals a day for a while after the water fast, my last water fast, and high amount of calorie burn because I was on a ski trip and, I was burning like 10,000 calories a day, crazy level of output. And then now that I'm back home, even though I'm working like a maniac, I'm not skiing. So I'm now down to 1 meal again today, and tomorrow, and right on through until the cleanse is over. And then I'll be at, 0 meals through the fast. And so that meal is going to be more like salad and more,
Mhm.
like I'll go out in the yard and get like wild nettles and things I like to eat.
And you probably feel really good on that, on just the 1 meal a day, like your digestion. I know if I do intermittent fasting even, or like basically I sometimes just eat fruit juices, smoothies all day and then 1 meal and I intermittent fast. And I feel like that makes you feel really good too, right? Rather than overloading the digestion too much. Yeah.
Digestion takes more energy than anything else. So it's probably the number one like sapper of energy and mental power. And when we think about like getting up in the morning, you want it to be mentally acute and aware and sharp and ready to go. And
Mhm.
food is just detracting away from that. So that's one of the things I really like about fasting because it gets me into a state of like hyper abilities. Like I go right from this job, then I go to that job, then I go to this one,
Yeah.
then I'm in the yard, then I'm digging that hole, then I'm doing this, then I'm doing that. And
Yeah.
then when I'm resting, I'm completely resting. And a lot of times, you just go horizontal, but you don't need to sleep because you have too much energy. So you just go horizontal for 20 minutes, then rejuvenate, and then like that's like eating. That's your eating.
Mhm.
Fasting
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
get horizontal.
So true.
And,
I love
and
that.
yeah, and then you get back on it. So yes, I'm overnourished by far. I mean,
Mhm.
ridiculously so. So, when
Yeah.
I fast, I'm
Yeah.
able to actually burn off that excess,
Mhm.
which is the best. By the way, here's a statement for you. The real situation is that your fat is by far your best food for you.
Mhm.
Just think that through and really get into that. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about when people are filled with soot because everybody's filled with soot growing up in cities, eating food from civilization. breathing an automobile exhaust, but through the fasting, getting that old fat off of you and then getting the correct fat onto you, healthy fat onto you.
Mhm.
When you burn off that fat, everything's perfect. Everything's even. You have perfect energy. There's no lows, there's no ups, there's no, just even the whole time. It's epic.
Wow, true, amazing, okay, and somebody said so they wanna know if you follow other health giants, and who inspires you? Like, do you have any gurus you look up to, anything? And also besides food, where do you stand on other forms of intake that affect our body, mind, and spirit, like alcohol, marijuana, music, television, social media, people being toxic, that sort of thing?
Okay, wow.
That's
Who
a
do I follow? I mean, I like Wim Hof a lot because we're old friends, and I'm an old school cold water dip. That's why I'm in Ontario.
Mhm, mhm,
I'm in Northern Ontario, so I'm in like it last night. I
mhm.
actually didn't even go to the sun. I just went right into the cold water because I was running the spring water and bottling a lot of water up here. That's a whole story. Like I have a specialty bottling system that I use, and then instead of going to a local spring, which we do, there's 4 local springs around here. I was like, no, we'll just bottle off our own spring, but I'll use my Vortrap system. That's a whole story. You have to watch my social media for that one. It's
Yeah.
too Anyway, so I have a really cool system set up outside. So I'm like, I'm going to bathe in it. So as soon as the sun set, we had a nice little campfire last night. I
Mhm,
stripped off and just went under that and got completely cleaned off in that water. And then went in the sauna, then went back into that water. And that was kind of my night. So it's ice cold spring water, very cold, freezing
mhm,
actually, like bone
mhm.
chilling. So
Wow.
I like that kind of, so I'll follow people who are into that kind of stuff. Like Ben Greenfield, for example. I like that he's kind of in my same wheelhouse of like he's kind of always experimenting with different things, and he's into the biohacking, I guess would be the best term for all that stuff.
Mhm, mhm,
What about let's talk about psychoactive plants.
mhm.
I got a great download when I was growing up in San Diego. It's like, hey, grow the plant, like dump the gurus, grow the plants instead. I was like, okay, that sounds good. So I grew all those plants. I've grown all those plants for 30 years, all of them, every one in all the categories.
Wow, that's cool.
And so my experience with it is visceral. And by the way, my experience with all these plants that I'm talking about is real visceral because I grew it.
Mhm.
I'm not
No
talking about something
kidding.
I don't know about. I grew the damn stuff.
You know about everything. That's
But 30
amazing.
years experience of growing it too is very
Mhm.
few people, even nutritionists, even someone like Ben Greenfield, great guy, amazing guy. How much of what he's talking about is he growing,
True.
right? So that's where I think I differ from most nutritionists. I actually grow what I'm talking about. So I can tell you things about it that only someone who grows it knows.
Mhm. Yeah, that's another level when you're growing it.
It's another level. And it gives you just more information. So you become more that what a great advice that I got all those years ago. Like just grow the plants and figure it out. So, I made a lot of mistakes. Took me 9 years to figure out how to get the vanilla right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a project. And there's just all these projects. You just keep going until you get it right. The cacao, I mean, all the different ways that we process cacao and all the amazing things. And if Christina can get for you my freeze dried cacao from Noniland, see if she
Mhm.
can have that for you when you get there.
Yeah, I
'Cause
will.
that'll blow your mind. You bite into that, you go, "Oh my god, huh? What's going on?"
I
It's
would love to try that.
she can get it for you.
Yeah.
So, check that out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will for sure. Amazing. And yeah, they were asking too your take on like things that can be toxic, like alcohol, TV, social media. I don't know if you consume alcohol or what do you think about people consuming it in moderation and
I mean, I'm not an alcohol drinker,
Mhm.
so, I can't, I haven't actually had it finished a complete beer in years. I mean, I just can't even it's just
Me
not
too.
wine, nothing.
Me
I'm just
too.
not none of that stuff. I don't really have anything to absorb it. I could drink like a shot of mezcal, that I could do. I
Mhm.
could definitely drink mezcal with like fruit juice and citrus in it and salt. Growing up in San Diego, we used to go to Tijuana and get those kind of drinks, but obviously this would be organic and completely
Yeah.
different from that stuff. But I don't even drink that stuff. I mean, that's a once in a blue moon kind of thing.
I feel like just when you clean up your health, you naturally stop wanting those types of things. You know, you lose the desire for them.
Yeah, you can't. You're already high.
Mhm, exactly.
You're already
Yeah.
high. You're like it's a lot of times that stuff brings you down. And you're like, "No, I wanna be up," I don't wanna
Mhm.
be getting dragged down, so, I like
Mhm.
all the amazing plants. We do a lot of, Native American church. I'm involved with Native American church up here in Ontario and in Mexico and in the US,
Hmm.
and so, we'll sit up in the teepee, drink, water, eat little peyote balls
Mhm.
and just go all night, till the morning, then sweat all the next day and that kind of stuff. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Like a nice ceremony. It's a really good ceremony with your friends, and it's a really good ceremony with your crew, and it's really about prayer, right? You're up praying all night, and so you focus on the things that you normally can't get out because you're too busy, and so we just boom, we're just going to put this prayer out for that person. Okay, we're going to put this prayer out for that situation. Okay, let's put this prayer out.
Wow. That's
That kind
amazing. I
of thing.
love that.
It's really great.
And with plant medicine, have you experienced any major, like, downloads or information or life-changing things?
Well, the one thing that I think plant medicine can cure a person of is this idea of that's kind of as a scientism, materialistic idea that we're alone in the universe or whatever that program was is just so bad. It's like it's standing room only that every place is filled with spirit and soul. All objects are filled with spirit and soul. All plants, all animals, all people are filled with spirit
Mhm.
and soul. And that's the reality. So, I feel for those people who are kind of in some kind of a, separation anxiety. That's like we spoke about earlier.
Mhm.
But they can be cured by plant medicine from that. And that's really, I think, the role of the plant medicine is to cure people of the scientism or the materialism perspectives and viewpoints that this stuff gets drilled into you, when you're a kid, and it's hard to basically what happens is the system knows that if they drill it into you when you're a kid, then you'll defend it even with no evidence.
True. Mhm.
And this is why we got to get to the kids, younger and younger and younger is better and better and
Mhm.
better
Mhm.
because then they don't have to overcome their own program and they can actually get the right concepts, which is everything is filled with spirit and soul. Everything is alive. Everything is speaking to you at all times. God is speaking to you in riddles at all times, every moment.
Mhm.
Your best food is right outside your door, right there growing. Whatever's growing right outside your door is what's telling you what you need to eat or what you need to do. If you got a thistle growing right in front of your front door, you need liver cleansing. It's like that. And so that's how it is. That's how reality is. We're more in a video game than in some material, naked ape monkeys beating each other up for a million years crap. That
Mhm.
was so bad that whatever that program was, my God, how it disturbed people at the core of their consciousness.
Mhm.
Really gnarly.
Mhm. I agree 100%. Okay, and somebody said next too, they're wondering if you've changed your mind on promoting an all raw diet.
I like promoting an all raw diet for people
Mhm.
who want to do it. I just found that my teachers, when I reached a certain phase in my life, my teachers were like, people are toxic. That's the problem. And one day you're going to realize that. And one day your role is to help detoxify people. And I really took that to heart. But it took me many years. About 6 years ago, I started doing online fasting and cleansing and stuff like that. And we still do that every day or every year. And
Mhm.
so this year we're doing 4 of them. In 2020, we did 5 of them.
Wow.
And so we lead people through the 2 weeks, like cleanse, detox, get your
Mhm.
calories down, go to 1 meal a day, then no meals a day, then get into a juice feast, and then boom, day 15. If you want, you can join me. Try 1 day of a water fast. Try
Mhm.
2 days. Watch what happens to me. You're gonna see me go through the whole process. Then all of a sudden people are like, whoa, dude, you're like 14 days, 15 days into this. What's going on? I was like, you can do it too. So the next time, guess what? They're right
Mhm.
there with me doing it too. It's amazing what you can do if you see somebody else doing it.
True. Good
And
point.
that's why I like to lead these cleanses. I don't have to do it. It's like $99. It's super cheap. It's just for anybody. It's a really fun kind of experience, but I do that. It's more of a I'm doing it anyway. If you want to join me, cool.
Mhm. And it helps with the community, like doing it together, you know what I mean? Because 'Cause we're tribal creatures, I feel like, and I feel like that helps. And okay,
Together,
cool.
we always say together is better. Together is always better
Mhm.
and always
Mhm.
easier. And by the way, that makes it easier for me. If I'm with a group and we're doing it, I'm happy too because it's a way easier
Mhm.
for me to.
Yeah.
I've got a group to fall back on.
Exactly, absolutely, and somebody was asking, do you have any answers for where was it? Somebody was asking about hair loss. Any answer you have a great head of hair, so you're in your
Thank
50s.
you.
Any
If I
tips
take this off,
for
it'll be crazy.
any
Um,
opinions or what you think about yeah, you have great hair. People and this is all your real hair, right?
yeah, and actually, I'm the only male in my family that has any hair, by the way.
No
Uh,
way,
yep.
interesting.
So I think the only other male has any hair in my whole family is one of my uncles. Every other uncle, every brother, my dad, everybody, they're basically thinned out or gone.
S so do you think it has to do with our lifestyle?
Yeah, it has to do with lifestyle for sure. It also there's things like geez, now my hair's gone crazy.
No, it
There's
looks
also
good. I
things
like
like
it.
thyroid is very
Mhm.
important, right? If something's happening with your thyroid, if your viral load goes really high, your toxic load goes really high, toxic metals, for example, go
Hmm.
really high, then it can, your thyroid is extremely electrically charged, negatively charged. So it attracts to itself a lot of ions that are in our food. For example, iron, aluminum, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, lead.
Hmm.
That stuff it gets stuck in the thyroid.
Wow.
And that's why we have an epidemic of thyroid problems.
Yeah, there's
And
so many thyroid problems
there's so
now.
many
Oh,
thyroid
wow.
problems. And then the
Interesting.
halogens too, like the bromide,
Yeah.
the fluoride, the toxic iodine forms
Hmm.
gum up the thyroid too. So you got to get the right kind of iodine in. And in order to do that, you have to, know about chelation by replacement, that if you get the right thing in, your body will push the wrong thing out.
Hmm. So
But
like,
the
and
opposite's also true.
with
If you get the
iodine, we
wrong
shouldn't
thing
have
in,
too
it'll
much or too.
displace,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. This is
like
important.
like arsenic, for example, will displace zinc, or it gets in the zinc receptor site. So if you don't have any zinc, but you have arsenic, the arsenic will go in, or the cadmium will go into where the zinc's supposed to go. If you
Hmm.
get the zinc in, then it pushes the cadmium and arsenic out.
Hmm. Yeah, because we see there's a lot of people with thyroid problems now, right? Hmm.
It's an
Okay.
epidemic. It's literally an epidemic. And so that, so there's things that I do today that I didn't do before. For example, I take extra B vitamins
Hmm.
from my friends who make their products. And, like, I don't mess around with a lot of products that are on the market because it's just crap. It really is.
Yeah.
I've been to many manufacturing facilities for supplements, enzymes, superfoods, things of that nature.
Hmm.
And so I know what a good operation looks like. And
Hmm.
you can very clearly tell that there's major changes in quality, depending on which product you're going to. So I will only go to the quality stuff where I know who's making it.
Yeah, good.
Like
Because I've heard there's not very many regulations with the supplement industry and all those things. So I think that's important, the quality of the supplement. So what do you take then? What supplements?
I love a lot of global healing stuff because I know Dr. Group really well. He's my best friend.
Hmm.
I've been to his facility. I've lived at their house. I know them so well, and so does Christina. Christina knows them
Hmm.
really well too. In fact, one time we
Hmm.
all went out to dinner together. That was a really
Hmm.
incredible night.
Nice.
And so I love what they're doing and the specificity of what they're doing. And, like everything is done right. The paint on the floors has crystals crushed into it and painted into the floors. And all that, obviously no VOCs have ever been in that facility ever. They
Wow.
don't have a certified GMP or, these different things you can get for good manufacturing practices. And then I think it's an ISO. There's another designation you can get. They don't have that because to get that, you need to radiate the product at the end stage.
Hmm.
Like, we're not radiating our product. Forget you. We're not doing that. Forget it. That kind of stuff. Like they are really high level in that way. And so I love their enzymes. I got them probably right here somewhere.
Maybe you can send me their link too in case, because people will probably ask which ones are these, or I can get it from your sister or something so that I
Mhm.
can put it below for if anybody's wondering. So do you take B12? Like you make sure to take some B vitamins then?
I take some B vitamins. I'll take like Dr. Group's B12. I love a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin founded the company Symbiotica. You may know of
Mm-hmm.
Symbiotica.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a great B12 product. I actually helped develop that product, the B6,
Wow.
B12. And
Cool.
I've been behind a lot of things over the years. People don't realize that, Symbiotica, I was right there at the core of the beginning of that whole company to get the structure in of what, what was going to be offered to the public. What are the right products to put out there?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're off to the races. I mean, I don't really do anything with them anymore, except,
Yeah.
just 'cause my cousin who's, obviously still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have done that for years with many different companies, and a lot of companies have their product line because a lot of pieces of their line, not all of it, of course, but little pieces like coconut oil and big, tubs.
Mm-hmm.
That was my idea. I invented that idea
Yeah.
on the internet, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And so I've had I think, a long impact in the natural food space, in the
Mm-hmm.
organic food space.
Somebody said they would love to know what you think about raw vegan keto versus high fruit.
It depends on you. I mean, see, this is where we differ.
Mm-hmm.
Rudolf
True.
Steiner said it best. This was a life-changing statement. Rudolf Steiner, by the way, is my favorite philosopher of all time. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, you asked who's the great inspirations for me.
Mm-hmm.
He's the greatest inspiration to me of all the great philosophers of all history, including current. Rudolf Steiner said this, there are as many diets as there are human beings on earth. That's the
True.
real truth. And therefore, you know, like for me, I can handle a moderate amount of carbs. So I can eat a lot of fruits, but there comes a point where it's too much.
Hmm.
There's other people who can be right next to me who can handle a high carb diet. That's just their metabolism. They're just that way. Their brother might be different. Their mom might be different, but they can handle a high carbohydrate diet. And they look at everybody else, go, how come you can't do what I'm doing? And
Hmm.
this is why all diets, you know, have their role. They have their role, but they are not the truth in themselves, because each person is a world unto themselves. See, part of this one diet fits all, or one jab fits all, or that one thing fits all nonsense has to do with the scientism and the materialistic viewpoint. Or the idea that humanity is just some kind of an animal or some kind of an ape or some nonsense. It's just totally insane. When you really
Hmm.
look at it, you're like, there's nothing about my life that has anything to do with an ape.
It's so true though. You're
You know what I'm
so
saying? It's
right.
just so
Yeah,
stupid. It's just
it
ridiculous,
is. Yeah, good
right?
point.
So it's like, you know, I'm running around my yard, everything. I'm an alchemist, you know, of nature. So are you. So is everybody else. Everybody
Mhm.
is their own world unto themselves, their own alchemist unto themselves. And so therefore we cannot say one size fits all. We cannot say that this food is the right food for everybody. That it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
So
it's so true.
we use the trial and success method, which means you try something, if it works for you, great. You keep going with it. If you try something that doesn't work for you, okay, skip that, go to the next thing.
And how
Um,
long do people know if they try that? You know, because some people say there's detox or it takes a while to feel good. How do people know how long should they give it before they know, okay, this isn't working, or maybe this isn't detox, it's not working?
well, it's you have to develop a sensory acuity, right? So, for example, let's say you eat something and you get itchy in the back of your mouth, and you're like, "Oh, I'm getting itchy in the back of my mouth," or you getting itchy eyes or something. You're
Mm,
having an allergic reaction to it. That could
mhm.
happen immediately. It could be done day one. It could be that over time people are like, "Okay, I think I got to lay off the kale," or you know, so they just have too
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
Then that might be
Mhm.
3 months or 6 months of eating kale every day, and finally go, "Look, I can't. That's it. Like, gotta
Yeah.
eat something
Yeah.
else." It depends on what food we're talking about, or superfood, or herb, or what, you know, what the use is. If somebody's like, I'm eating chocolate 3 meals a day, you might hit a wall at some point where your body says, like, look, change it up.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
also
yeah.
that's a natural rhythm thing. There's certain things we can say about nature that are kind of permanent. One is that things come in rhythms and cycles. That's Jim Rohn,
Mhm.
the cycles of life. And right now, by the way, we're in a winter. We're in a winter, right? Where culturally,
Mm,
politically, we are in a winter. And
true.
what follows winter?
Yeah, exactly, spring.
Springtime.
Yeah.
And we one day we'll get out of this. Now I don't know how long it's gonna last. It could be another 10 years of insanity. It could be another 15 years of insanity, but we'll get out of it.
Mhm.
We'll get through it, and we'll get out on the other side. And
Mhm.
so that was, thank God for Jim Rohn to teach us that, to be there like, "Hey, you may be in a winter now, but winters don't last forever. And
Exactly.
one day it will be spring." And by the way, I'd rather have it be winter now and having the best day ever, even in winter, because when it
Mhm.
gets springtime, it's gonna be even better. It's gonna be
Exactly.
ever.
Exactly, and what would you say is your proudest or greatest accomplishment in your whole life?
Whoa, that's a powerful statement. Jeez.
I know, I just felt like asking you that.
Hmm. I have to really think about that. That's really,
Mhm.
really,
We can come back to that one too.
yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I would say all triumphs are ultimately triumphs against the self, right? Against
Mhm.
the voices that say, "No, you could just sleep in longer. No, you don't need to get up. No, you know, you can do something else. No, you should just eat something. No, you don't have to fast." Those are the most powerful triumphs in my opinion. So it would have something to do with the triumph of willpower, especially in the with the fasting. Recently, for example, I'll tell you a big triumph. Now, I've had many in my life, so I'm just gonna tell you something happened
Mhm.
recently. We were headed to California. We're doing a big event in California. We had 360 people showing up, and we'd been hyping this event up for 9 months.
Mhm.
Um, Ultimately epic facility, everything, and I was like, "I have to be on point for this."
Mhm.
And so I'm in the cleanse, and all of a sudden I'm going into the water, and it's as difficult as it could be. I'm
Mhm.
driving, I'm dealing with organizing the event. I've got people calling. I've got this nonstop all day long. It full on. And you know, I got into it and got to, you know, to day 11 on the water during the event.
Wow.
You know, so getting up in the morning, going to the beach, doing
Mhm.
qigong, jumping into the ocean, then coming out, then jumping in again, then, you know, walking back to the place we're staying, then getting dressed, cleaned up, going to the event, then firing it out for 8, 9, 10 hours straight. Those are some major personal triumphs, but
I love that. And the ocean, it does so much for us too, right? And the nature, you think it's important we take the time, especially if we live in the city, to like get outside and connect with nature more?
Yes, I think
Mhm.
so we recommend 1 measured hour in nature without your phone, so that means you've gotta be in nature for an entire hour. You could go to Hyde Park, you could do,
Mhm.
someplace in Toronto like that, or you can just get out of the
Mhm.
city, go get spring water. That's a great thing to do with spring water is you
Yeah.
outside the city, you're getting bottles of water. It's really fun. It's a great activity,
Mhm. And
and
it's
then
just
the
free at
2
these
hours is
springs,
better.
right? It's free when you go to these
It's
springs. It's
free,
free, right? It's just yeah,
and
that's cool.
it's either you're getting it or it's going down the drain. I mean, that's the thing.
Mhm.
At some point, just stick your bottle in there. You're like, okay, I got my bottle in there. And I got a piece of this magic that's 24/7, 365 forever.
Hmm. I'm gonna do that.
Incredible.
Yeah, when I'm back from Hawaii, I'm gonna do that. I'm excited. Okay. And somebody said, "What is your favorite juicer?" I'm curious too. I don't you have a juicer, I'm assuming. And do you
Uh,
is it important to you to juice regularly? What's your favorite juice? Do you like green juices? Do you believe in fruit juices? Because I know some people don't believe in those.
Well, again, the amount of fruit juice you can handle is dependent on how much carbs you can handle. And I can handle a moderate amount of carbs. So I like fruit juices. I love them
Mhm.
actually. I
Me
mean,
too. Me too. I love
so
them.
fruit makes me happy. And this is another thing that I'm just going to say again, fruit makes you happy. If you look into the secondary alkaloids that are found in citrus fruit, for example, nobiletin, tangerine,
Mhm.
quercetin, rutin, campferol, isocampferol. I got a whole list of them. It's an incredible list. It goes like there's four, I'm trying to think of another one that I really like in that list. Nobiletin, by the way, is one, or xanthocumol. There it is.
Mhm.
These are the individual powers of just these secondary alkaloids, which are flavonoids in citrus fruit, are some of the most powerful medicines ever discovered, ever.
Wow, unreal.
And they are associated, like quercetin is associated with happiness.
Mhm. Wow.
And it's a yellow pigment, right? Like, don't worry, be happy. That little bouncing face isn't like red, it's not blue, it's yellow because yellow is
Mhm.
associated with happiness. So that's why I'm a big fan of fruit is like I want to be happy, and I've just seen people who are like super meatheads. That's why we call them a meathead is because they're not actually happy because they're just grinding themselves down with all this protein and there's none of those secondary alkaloids that bring happiness that improve immunity that modulate the cells so the cells become more resistant to viral takeover or cancer or whatever. All of these things, by the way, like quercetin stops
Mhm.
viral replication stages 1 and 2 at the very beginning. Cancer replication right 1 and 2, associated with happiness, known to be one of the most incredible modulators of the spleen ever discovered, which
Mhm.
means like kidney and spleen inflammation brings it right down. So, if when you get older, if you get kidney inflammation, that could be gout or things like that. Quercetin knocks that
Mhm.
out better than anything known. Better than
Wow.
anything known.
Interesting.
Crazy stuff like that. So you can see how where this goes and just how
Yeah,
rapid
I know, right? And you
how
have a lot of books,
important.
right? Yeah, I'll link your books down below or like your
I do
place
I
because
do have a
you know
lot of
so
books.
much. Yeah.
I did get, so I got all my books back, and so I'm in the process of republishing them. And so there's still some floating around on the internet you can find.
Mhm.
But the first new version will be an updated version of my superfoods book, which I'm really
Cool.
excited.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, somebody was asking, what a legend. Everybody's saying that, of course. They said they want to hear your top 3 super foods and lifestyle tips, like the importance of being grounded or the sun, things like that. So do you have any 3 superfoods and lifestyle tips?
Yes, but I wanna just mention that blender wise,
Mm,
I'm the NutriBullet guy, so that's my favorite blender.
yeah.
What a you talk about a miracle. That project for me has been a miracle nonstop for since it really began in 2010. So miracle
Amazing.
stuff. I love the NutriBullet. I love the guys behind it. I love the gals behind it. Everything was a magical, miraculous experience, still is.
Yeah.
Juicing, I have an old, what is this thing called? The Ruby. I have an old Ruby
I've
juicer
never
here.
even heard of that one. Wow,
That's
look
a
at you.
giant one, like this we're on an apple farm here,
Yeah.
I'm punching in I'm putting in whole apples into the thing.
Yeah.
Mega level, when you have 900 apples, you're not gonna be kinda like, they're using,
True. True. Yeah, you need
this
like
is
a
big
commercial.
scale.
It's like a commercial one? Oh,
It's a
that's
commercial one,
perfect for
exactly.
you.
So that's
That's
what I do.
perfect. Yeah.
And then let's talk about health tips. I'd say number
Mm,
1 health tip is less is more. If you want to live longer, you need to eat less so you live longer so you can eat more.
great tip.
You
So
like that one?
true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just less is more. So the let just
I love it.
Just say, I'll wait. Nope, don't need that. Let me wait another half hour. And it's a skill you build up. Right now, I'm like
Mhm.
I'm rebuilding up that discipline because after I did the fast and did that great event, I'm in on the ski trip. We went to Europe, first time ever skiing in Europe. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna eat what I want. I'm gonna have the best time ever. We're burning 10,000 calories. It was,
Yeah.
it was full on. But now I'm like, okay, bring it back, bring it back. Let's get back to baseline, one meal a day. So that's a big one. And I would say another big health tip is sunshine and movement, right? So get out into the sun and move. And
Mhm.
the most important thing for your health probably is walking. I mean, if we had to just break it down to
True.
one single thing that we all can do, walking is the
Mhm.
most important thing.
Mhm. Okay,
And then
amazing. And go ahead.
superfoods. What are the
Superfoods.
best superfoods? Well, you have to pick, you pick which ones you like. I'd say you want one of the algaes for sure. Maybe it's going to be chlorella, maybe it's going to be spirulina, maybe it's going to be AFA blue-green algae, maybe it's going to be a marine phytoplankton or something, but I'd pick one and kind of
Mhm.
hang your hat on it if it agrees with you
Okay.
and go with that.
Okay.
Number two, I would say in the superfoods, I would say, you got to pick something that is really like goji berry tea, for example, is really good, phenomenal. Or soaking goji berries, just even in water, cold waters, just makes a phenomenal drink. Great way to consume goji berries because they're soft and plump, and great way to get
Mhm.
that nutrition and the betaine and all the amazing essential oils that are found in goji berries, and on and on and on. And kind of historically in China, they always use goji berry as kind of an additive to dishes. Like, for example, if they ate rice or something, they put goji berries in it. But
Mhm.
they were plumped up. They'd been soaked.
Hmm.
And what a great source of fiber, what a great source of lycopene, and just goes on and on.
So
Okay.
healthy, yeah.
Yeah. And so then I would say, then you have to find something that's like, what's the right drug for you, right? Because everybody has
Mhm.
to kind of have the right drug. Now, alcohol is just generally, it's just too much, like sandpaper going in your system. It's like
Mhm.
having a hangover, forget about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Forget it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
on every single day. There's no time for a hangover. You got to be kidding me. No
Same
way.
here, yeah.
So then you got to find the right thing for you. So it might be cacao. And that's something you want to experiment with, the right amount of cacao.
Mhm.
Like this probably had about 10 cacao beans in it. When I
Mhm.
think about all the amount that I threw in here.
Yeah.
And 10 macombos. Macambo is the grand Theobroma bicolor. I grow the macambo tree, and that's one of my
Nice.
favorite trees. And it's another type of cacao, except instead of it being dark with pigments like that
Yeah.
brown or purple, it's actually like more of a tan gray. You'll see that when you go over to
Hawaii?
this place that I was mentioning over in Toronto, the
Oh,
ChacoSoulTraders.com. Go there.
okay, I'm gonna check these
Yeah.
people out. Okay, perfect. Wow, interesting.
Okay.
And okay, somebody was asked, what was I gonna ask you? I forget. I was gonna ask you something. Somebody was asking about migraines too. Any thoughts on those? They're saying they're getting a lot of migraines. People are getting a lot of migraines these days. I don't know if you want to talk on that or it's
Okay,
if
so
it's
I'll
just
say three things about migraines. One is it's usually caused by dehydration.
Mhm.
Number two is I would say it's acidity. So that means, and you can be very acidic even eating raw food because
Mhm.
it's kind of like I think about it in compost terms.
Yeah.
When the compost is breaking down, it goes into acid, 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 acid. That's kind of like the food goes into acid, acid, acid as it
Mhm.
breaks down. And so alkaline buffers like magnesium and calcium are very important. Now, those are most prevalent in the fiber of vegetables, right? So that's another reason why you have to eat vegetables. Another
Mhm.
reason. So I would say that just the main cause typically is calcium and magnesium deficiency if it's not dehydration. Then we go to the third cause, which is tension. Now, this is related to acidity because the acidity causes tension, but I can go into someone's neck immediately. Like they're having a migraine. I touch their neck and just go, like Vulcan neck pinch. And it's like, oh my God, that's it. That's the spot. So this area here is, we're a three-dimensional guitar,
Mhm.
and this is the easiest place to get at all the strings on this guitar. So to me, getting good neck work, getting in here, getting someone to get into the scalenes in the front of your neck, getting this all loosened up, getting underneath your jaw, getting that dental trauma out is an essential form of body work. Essential. Because
Mm.
the trauma is all stored in here. All of it.
Mhm.
Your
Wow,
whole dental
really?
trauma is all stored in here. All that, "Oh, I'm gonna get this done, I'm gonna grind it out." All stored in here in your jaw. All the neck problems and tension is causing thyroid problems too. That's another factor.
No
Headache.
way. Wow. How can
So
we
that's
let
where
go
the
of the
yoga comes in,
trauma?
getting upside down. The dental trauma is insane. It's
Dental
insane.
trauma
I
is insane. I've had so
for
much dental trauma. That's true. Yeah.
insane. It's a tragedy. That's all I could say.
Wow, interesting. Okay, and I just remembered what I was gonna ask you before. What do you think what are your thoughts on matcha, like matcha powder? Do you think that that's healthy or no?
If you like, I mean, that could be your drug too. You might be like,
Yeah.
cacao doesn't work for me, but matcha does. And so I like matcha. I mean, I'm not, a super caffeine guy. So if like I'm at my cousin's house, 𝒔𝒂𝒗𝒆, if I'm at his house, they love matcha over there. And
Mhm.
I'll have their matcha drink in the morning. Okay, cool. But I'm not a huge matcha guy personally, but it is in the top 7 foods in the world in mineral content.
No way,
That's
I didn't know
tested in a
that.
lab in Toronto. Now, let me tell you, just right off the top of my head. So cacao's in that top 7. Green tea, matcha is in that top 7. Turmeric is in the top 7. Pine needles also are in the top 7. What else? I have to think through that list. It's been a few years. But anyway, that's 4 of the top 7 right there off the top of my head.
So
And
interesting, I didn't know about that. Wow. So how would
it's
people incorporate pine needles, like, into, like, a tea or something?
pine needle tea. Yeah, pine needle tea
Cool.
is a great source of
Wow.
vitamin C. Now, they say don't have pine needle tea if you're pregnant because cows, it's an abortive in cows. There's no evidence it's an abortive in human beings, but the warning is there,
Yeah.
just because of that.
Wow, okay, and somebody's asking, do you have any new or updated books coming out? Well, you talked a little bit about that, but anything
Well,
else you
I
wanna share?
have my new superfoods book out, and it will come out. I'm just at the final stage. I'm actually one of the things I gotta do today is get the ISBN number. I'm
Mm,
at that
nice.
stage, yeah.
Yeah,
So stay tuned
cool.
on that, and that's a good reminder. And I would say probably the most like, I always do free calls, and I kinda just
Mhm.
try at some point reach out through social media, and somebody asked about, I don't watch TV, I don't have a TV, I don't do TV, anything like I've been off TV for over 30 years.
Wow,
Um
nice. Somebody's asking about autoimmune disorders. I had a huge allergy to gluten before I got on with raw, and then it was actually totally gone after being on raw for a year or 2. And so what do you think? Do you think autoimmune disorders have actually a lot to do with our gut, or what protocols, like, do you think what do you think about autoimmune?
Okay, yes. So the autoimmune is one of those trending problems right now, and so it's part of your body's not recognizing the other part of your body as itself, or your body recognizes food as being really a foreign enemy and attacks not only food but also the entire lining of the digestive tract, or all kinds of
Mhm.
issues can come about.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
these kind of intractable problems always have at the bottom and root a fundamental that's missing. Meaning if you do this fundamental, the symptoms just start going away, 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 away. And so these are always the most obvious and basic fundamentals there are. And one of those is water and sea
Mhm.
salt. Water and sea salt, water and sea salt, water and sea
Mm.
salt. Hot water and warm sea salt, however you want to do it. You want to get a cup like this, throw some sea salt in there and water. If you have to use more sea salt than you think for the autoimmune problem, for example, for me, it was allergies and asthma. So I started off with the dairy allergies and all that stuff. It's one of the things that got me going. You asked about that earlier. We never got to that, but
Mm.
dairy allergies and those issues were a big issue for me. And then eventually, after all the years and all the experience, I realized something crazy, which is I was deficient in the right kind of salts or electrolytes.
Hmm.
And so I would drink large amounts of sea salt and water, and the problems would go away. And I'd be
No
like, my God,
way.
like in 10
Wow.
minutes, like
No
allergies,
way.
guys, asthma, 10 minutes gone, drinking salt water. And I started going, huh, what do you know? So then I started talking to people with Crohn's. I was like, drink salt water, drink salt water, drink salt water until the autoimmune cycle shuts off. And they'd be like, my God, in like a week it shut off. And I was like, see? So autoimmune, lupus, any of them that you can think of, the most important step and the fundamental is to have water and sea salt together and drink that as your drink. And sometimes it has to be really strong. Again, I'm going to just bring back to my example. I found for me that the amount of sea salt was never enough until I got to a certain threshold. And that threshold was about 1 tablespoon per liter.
Hmm.
That's a lot.
Hmm. And
It's
it's
even
okay, it's
more.
safe if people think like, "Oh, isn't that safe?" Or like, "It's okay?"
If someone's dying of a heart attack and they're all ballooned up because they've taken in all the toxic salt all their life, they need to actually get off all salt for a while. So in that case, no, but most people are not in that state.
Mhm.
Most people have to do the salt switch. You have to get off the toxic crap that's used as a food preservative in all the foods that are in packages,
Yeah.
and it's used in restaurants and all different kinds of eateries. You have to switch over to sea salt or rock salt. I prefer sea salt because it's more living, it's more part of the life force. And people are like, what about the microplastics? Go get the Mackay salt or get the Icelandic salt or get the Baja salt that comes from the deeper ocean so you don't have microplastics.
Mm.
So anyway, that to me, the human being is water, sea salt, and light before anything else.
Hmm.
And deficiencies in those will cause all kinds of problems, major problems. And autoimmune is deficiency of electrolytes or salts first.
Wow, I'm so glad this person asked the question because I've never heard it explained like that, but that makes so much sense, you know?
See that we're so smart, we become stupid.
I know.
Humanity's become so smart, we miss the most obvious and basic things. You know, that's where we're at. That's where we're at culturally. And so basically what we represent, like this old system, like, you know, it ended up in genetically modified food, injecting pharmaceuticals into people without, you know, just as literally guinea pig experiments, literally that. And now we represent what will be the basis and the foundation of the next civilization, really, because these ideas like, hey, how about going and picking chaga mushroom from your local wild environment? How about making a tea with it? How about using actual sea salt
Mhm.
instead of this crap that's coming from some manufacturing facility that you would not ever want to know the owners, and you definitely would not want to know where their state of consciousness is. That's for sure.
True. Wow, good point. I get like an iodized sea salt from Greece. Do you think that's okay or no?
No,
No. Okay.
nope, nope. I would not. If you're going to do iodine, get an iodine from Dr. Group or get an iodine that's like a
Okay.
legit product that's actually an iodine product, or just eat seaweed.
Okay.
But I would not get an iodized product from some other country because it's going to be
Okay.
cheap and it's going to be potassium iodide or something like that's not even
Okay.
really the right
Yeah.
available form.
Okay. Okay. And somebody said, where do you get your protein? So how do you answer that question if somebody asks, what about the protein?
Okay, so if you know, in my diet, high fat, moderate carb, low protein.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the protein mostly that I'm getting is going to be like hemp seed. Hemp seed was in here, by the way. I
Mhm.
forgot to mention that.
You
I
got a
didn't
great
mention it.
concoction in there, right?
It's a
Yeah.
really good concoction. I'm actually looking at the bag right here. It's in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Uh, what else was in there that was high in protein? Oh, of course, pine pollen. So pine pollen and hemp seed are complete proteins. And pollen's actually a really good source of protein. I'm a guy who goes out now pretty soon here in this farm here in Northern Ontario. I will be out on the pine trees in front of the house because they're going to form catkins. And the
Mhm.
catkin is the pine flower. It usually forms those on the bottom of the tree, and then the
Mhm.
cones will be higher up. And so at some point, I'll go and pick them all, or pick as many as I can, and then I'll put them in a brown bag and I'll leave them out there on the picnic table. And then the
Yeah.
heat of the sun will cause the catkins to open up, and then I'll take all of that, pour it into a strainer, and basically with a spoon kind of strain it through, and then the pine pollen will fall through. And you
Wow.
can get a lot in a very short period of time that way. I mean, in one day, I can pick enough for almost the whole year.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So it's really an amazing food source. It's crazy how much food is around us. It's crazy what nature's producing. The entire scarcity concept is an entire illusion, massive illusion that's created by some totally corrupt materialistic system that's just trying to create scarcity in every turn. We don't have enough oil, we don't have enough this, we don't not enough water, not enough that.
True.
It's all
Scarcity
nonsense.
and
It's all
lack.
BS.
Yeah. Yeah. And
In
this is random.
reality,
This is random, but are you into astrology at all or no? Like, do you believe
yes,
in astrology?
I
Yeah.
do.
I'm so in I just recently got into it. I don't know if you've heard of Jade Luna. Have you heard of him? He's a huge astrologer. He consults with Steven Spielberg before he films movies for like locations. And he does like you give him like your birthday, your time, all this, and he does like a regular reading. And then he also does location readings. Have you heard of that or no? Where he like,
Yes.
yeah, where he gives you like numbers in every area, like love, career, money, feeling at home, health. And he gives you numbers 1 to 10 based on like where you'll thrive the most. You believe in that too? I did that call last week. It was so interesting.
Astrocartography, I think it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, that's really good. And yes, I do believe in that. And well, this is, I'm not a believer in anything. I entertain possibilities. I mean, how many beliefs have we had that just later got overturned and we got
True.
thrown? So
True.
I entertain possibilities and I'm open to learning. So I love that perspective. Now I am open to astrology for this reason is like, those are the stars above our head. Those are the planets above our head. These are the luminaries that are above us, and they're shining down certain energies, and therefore combinations of energies can have influence in certain areas. For example, like all cryptocurrency that I've ever done has all been based on astrology, and I'm winning big.
Wow, I
It's all
love
based on
that.
astrology though. So if I follow the astrology, then I'm going to be winning. And so I've been calling like this current bull run that we're in with crypto, it's because of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, and the conjunction of the two of them. It's unbeatable. It's a prosperity combination that's like it's the most important conjunction of the year. So when I look at that, I go, it's just obvious. Like it's going to happen in April. It's going to be like booming. And that's where we're at. We're in a boom cycle right now with all that. And we'll go probably till September 1st, till Uranus goes into retrograde in Taurus. And then next year we go into Gemini. So I see next year could be the CBDC introduction because you have a split happening with Gemini. So Uranus is moving, Uranus basically controlling cryptocurrency, and it's
Mhm.
moving into Gemini, and it's going to split, right? Because Gemini is split personality. And that's where
Mm.
we could see the introduction of a CBDC, or it's going to be the beginning of that. So the crypto world will split between the current stuff and then what the governments want, their control stuff.
Wow, interesting. And do you believe in, like, the law of attraction and stuff too?
Of course.
Yeah, me too. I'm big I
Because
love that.
we're not in some materialist naked ape, beat each other up with bone. That was so bad, that programming. It's like
Mhm,
what are the odds? Like, for example, I was in the UK recently, and I was
mhm,
at a biodynamic farm, and then we went to a little coffee shop thing to wait for our ride, and it's like across the road from a biodynamic and organic shop. And so I
mhm.
was just sitting there. I wasn't even having anything, and this one guy started talking to me, and he's like, "Oh, you're David Wolfe," and blah blah blah. And I was like, "Oh yeah," and we started hitting off. Then every single person there knew me. Every single
Mhm,
person. And I was like, this is not explainable by some naked ape bones crap that we were programmed with, 2001: A Space Odyssey nonsense, the
mhm.
scientism, the random mutation leading to life on Earth, and just it doesn't all that is ridiculous. But in a video game reality that we're living in some kind of a hologram, then that would make sense that every single person I was only out in public for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
every single in the UK,
yeah, yeah.
every single person there recognized me. I mean, come on, you can't explain that by some rational model.
True.
And see, this is the thing. You see how the philosophy, this is Jim Rohn stuff. You see how the philosophy that they drilled into us as kids with no evidence, that you're
Mhm,
like some kind of a naked ape, and everything's random and all this stuff, that people will stick to that even with no evidence.
mhm.
And with in fact, opposite evidence coming in that shows no, you're actually you're living in some kind of a video game. You're an avatar in some kind of a video game, and hypersynchronicity is the norm once you become aware of it.
Mhm, absolutely. I love it. I love that stuff. So fascinating to me. Well, this talk has been so fascinating. You're amazing. I've learned so much. I feel like you're just a wealth of information, knowledge, spirituality, all these other things and all these different topics. And it's truly so fascinating. And I think this has been one of my favorite talks with you. You're so great. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
you think we missed or anything you want to share with the audience before we end off? And then I'll link everything for you down below too, if you want to let people know where they can find you. And I'll put everything down below so they can go and check you out.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Okay, you could always find me davidwolfe.com, DAVIDWOLFE.com, but that's not my most updated stuff. My most updated stuff is usually on frequencylifestyle.org. Frequencylifestyle.org. So those are two key ones. My shop is at shop.davidwolfe.com, WOLFE. I have an E in the end of my name, Canadian spelling actually.
Yeah.
And then you can find me on social media either at David Wolfe or at David Avocado Wolfe. And
Okay.
you'll see me there. And avocado is AVOCADO. Canadians sometimes misspell that. AVOCADO.
Yeah, that's right. We do. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And anything else you want to share? Or this was really good. I learned a lot from you.
Right on. Thank you. And thanks for a great interview. And I love
Mm.
that you're drinking that green juice. That
Oh
is
yeah, I
really
love green
tasty.
juice. It's my
It's
favorite.
It's one of the best things ever. I mean, what a revolution. We didn't get into sprouts very much, and there's been a big
True.
resurgence in sprouts recently. So I'm a huge fan of sprouts and try to eat them with every salad and every day if I can.
Mhm.
And I would say that, nuts and seeds, you have to be careful as a raw foodist with nuts and seeds, because with nuts, you can go nuts. And
Mhm.
we've all had the moment of going into the almond butter and just fully going in. So, be careful. Seeds are a little bit more normalized for human being. You can get away with more seeds. It has a little bit more fiber, less availability of the fat. So it's not going to hit your system as hard. So if you eat too many sunflower seeds or too many hemp seeds or something, it's a lot easier on your system than eating too much, like too many macadamia nuts or
I
cashews or
feel it
something.
if I do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
Does it
feel it.
help
You'll be
if
like,
we
oh
soak
god.
them? Do you soak them or no? Do you think it is?
If I can, sure. I mean, I like soaked. My favorite is soaked, dehydrated, and blanched almonds.
Okay.
So the skin's off. So soaked, dehydrated, and then blanched. So the more, that you can get, the easier it is on your system. And I don't always do that, but when I do, it's really good.
Mhm.
And then also we talked a little bit about seaweeds, making sure that gets in there somewhere. And then I want to mention, some of the key things that have gotten really good press lately is celery, cucumber. Those are, things that are really critical, especially celery
Mhm.
juice. And there's people going around promoting celery juice, and that's a conversation we should have as to where that actually all originated. It really originated
Mhm.
from Dr. Jensen
Hmm.
and Dr. Walker, and I went around for years popularizing that,
Hmm.
uh, because that was their conclusion after 60 years of research and 65 years of research in the case of Dr. Walker, but with Dr. Jensen, it was 60 years of research. That was his conclusion, that this is one of the most important things. So he basically said that most people are suffering from, check it out, an organic sodium deficiency.
No way.
This gets
Wow.
back to that whole sea
The
salt thing,
salt
and
thing.
yep,
Hmm.
gets back to that.
So no
And
wonder
it
some people say they drink celery juice for a week, a month, 3 months. They have like all these changes. Huh.
Big changes, yeah, big it's really one of the it's the core if you're into doing green juice like you are, it's a core of that and really important. I like to do, like, up here, when
Mm.
the apple season hits, we'll do, like, whole I'll cut the bottom of the celery off and just the whole thing goes in there, big machine. I'll take, the whole bags of carrots, they
Yeah.
all go in. I'll
I
take
love
all
it.
the apples from the yard and just the whole apple just, right in there,
Yeah.
and then I'll fill up jugs of that and put it in the fridge, and what's interesting is the apple juice will create a film on top of it, like a almost like a soapy
Yeah.
film, and
Yeah.
it seals it off.
Hmm.
So the apple juice and the vegetable juice can last for days in the fridge. It might even last a week in the fridge in
Mhm.
that way. And it's like, really, I was like, whoa, cool. What a cool
Hmm.
natural way that just preserves itself.
Yeah, cool. Okay, now I'm gonna start doing the celery juice more, like just the celery juice too. You got me thinking now with the sea salts. I'm gonna look more into the sea salt thing. So this was great. I learned a lot from you. So I want to thank you too. And thanks for your time. Thanks for coming
Right
on.
on.
I know
Thank
you're
you.
super busy. And yeah, I wish you all the best. And everybody go follow David, go buy his books, his products, his chocolate. Everything is amazing. I'll put the links below. Be sure to subscribe. I have some great interviews coming up. Going to LA, Hawaii. Christina's gonna be on. So many great good ones. So subscribe for that. Give this a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.